Greetings and welcome to the Open-Minded Skeptic podcast. My name is Sharon Ann Rowland and I'm your host. So today's podcast is quite topical. We will be discussing in a roundtable environment the disease named COVID-19, which originated in the Hubei province in China. On the roundtable today, we have Will Hamilton, entrepreneur, Rob Newett, founder and chairman of the Australian Federation Party in Tasmania and member of the Federal Executive, Doug Anderson, who has been a medical professional for the majority of his life in the US, Barbara Jean Lindsay, the Cosmic Oracle from the US, and this time the other side of the US, Los Angeles, Amanda Gabrielle Prosser, child abuse whistleblower. Doug, on a personal level, how has the disease outbreak affected you on a day-to-day basis, or has it not?
Since I'm retired, it doesn't restrict me as much as other people who are working and now can't work. Around here, they've closed down a lot of our businesses. So small business operators and employees are at home, and that's new for them.
Yes.
For me, I'm retired. I can do whatever I want.
Okay. So pretty much it's the same as usual, only there's not so many shops to visit.
Exactly.
Cool. What about you, Will? How have you been affected in Brisbane day to day? Any change?
Not at all. Except that I like to go to the parks, like the mountains, like Mount Glorious, which is not that far from where I live, and just go for a walk in the forest. And apparently now even that's been banned and they shut all those parks down. So that disappoints me, because I think getting sunlight and getting a bit of fresh air in nature is a good way to keep your immune system robust. So that's the only way.
Yeah, no. Look, I've not had, because I'm doing uni at the moment online. I'm still chained to my computer, so just nothing's really changed, and I've become quite a hermit actually since I started studying. Rob, how have you been doing in Tassie? What on a day-to-day basis, is there anything that you've been stopped from doing that you normally do?
Look, we've got restrictions pretty much the same as they are for most of Australia in that respect. It's two persons, no more than two persons in a group, except for households. We're still permitted to go hunting and shooting if we want.
Oh, that's good.
Once again, no more than in groups of two, you know, and to try and keep life for most people as normal as possible. Because, like I say, we're in a really unique situation here. If we can control those, and for us, it's a two-pronged attack: controlling those coming into the state, and then controlling the virus that's already here. And if we can eliminate what's already here and stop everyone coming in, we can go back to a normal day-to-day existence.
Yeah.
Parks have been shut down here. National parks have been shut for people once again. I mean, and because we are heavily reliant, the state is rather heavily reliant on tourism, having no one coming into the state, and basically zero flights coming in, it's really, really impacted on our local and smaller communities that would have these people travelling through, and for the people with the caravans and the mobile home people that come across on the Spirit. It's impacting on those communities, quite a bit. But for me personally, I just say to people, well, it's like just being back in the Navy and you're just back at sea for 3 weeks. I mean, you can't go anywhere. You're in a steel ship floating around. You can't do anything. Worse is worse. You could even, if the only worst part about that is being a submariner where you're 300 foot below the surface and still locked in a ship tin full of people, basically. So I don't find the isolation, for me, there's always something to do. I've always got something to do. You keep your mind occupied, you keep yourself going. There's a garden to grow. I've got a garden patch to turn over, and it's very funny because I've noticed I went out today to try and buy seed, because I don't normally do a winter garden. I'm normally a summer garden person, and I let my garden go fallow over winter and then dig it back in and fertilise and go again for me spring and summer garden, in autumn. But this year, because it's getting to the point where you're looking at in the shops now $9 for cauliflower.
Wow.
That's just getting absolutely
$9. Wow.
Yeah, $9 for somewhere on the mainland. It's not. It's so much. $9, $11 for cauliflower. Things like it's getting ridiculous. So I've been out trying to get some seed to get a winter garden, get the winter vegetables going, like cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, those winter vegetables. But for the last couple of days, I've found it very, very hard to go. You go to Bunnings or what you call shiploads, or you reject shop, a place like where they normally have plenty of seed, for everything. And there's been no cabbage, there's been no broccoli, there's been no cauliflower. Everyone's putting a garden in. So in that respect, I'm hoping that it's probably a good thing that some people are getting back to nature and learning where the value of food and where food comes from.
Exactly.
I can help. If we can take any value out of anything, it will teach some people the value of food and how to value. I think the world will change in the way we look at people and how we value them more. I think people are starting to value a worker from Coles or the local supermarket or somewhere like that, or a truck driver, more they are than a professional football player right at the moment.
Yes. How are you going on a personal level? Have you been restricted in any way, or are you just doing your thing?
Well, I'm okay, but I have felt the impact, and I think it's knowing that I can't just walk out the door whenever I feel like it. I have to think, okay, grocery shopping, or can I go out? And because I've got this document to study that's so specific, and knowing that police will eventually, like if I want to go to the nearest town, which is inland city, which is 40 minutes away, to get things I can't get here.
No,
I have to think about it.
You have to go online. You have to go online more.
Yes. Once I've studied this and I've got my head around the actual legislation, like the fine print, not just the basics, everyone understands the basics, but I want to get into the fine print, and I'm already thinking ahead. How can I protect myself so that I can actually feel like I've got some freedom? Okay, we all know it's an illusion. We'll get to that later. But staying on topic, it has affected that. But also, having my career destroyed, I was rebuilding it with private students. But at this point in time, that is all up in the air because of all these restrictions and because people are afraid, because they're listening to the media.
So they're not booking in, that's a shame.
Well, yeah, they booked in. I mean, technically we'll be on holidays shortly, and I usually start second term, which is coming up. I mean, come with the parents, fine, they'll be okay, but it impacts on parents and the way they think as well.
Yeah. But
at the moment, it just feels like it's up in the air a little, and I'm not sure.
Well, that's a good point though, because it's very difficult for everybody to make future plans about anything.
We're not in control. You know why? Because we aren't in control.
Well, let's move into the next one then. I might answer this one to start, which is, what is the most restrictive directive that you have had to abide by within your local area and country? Well, I actually had a cruise booked. And, you won't get me on a cruise ship now. And it was going to be the first kind of family cruise. And it was just a comedy cruise out of Brisbane. And I'd booked in my daughters and their boyfriends as well. So we're all just going to go away for 4 days. And we actually would be packing at this moment if that was all going ahead. But so that's been my most restrictive thing. Basically, they cancelled cruises. They've cancelled cruises for 30 days. And then about 3 days ago, I got an email saying they've now cancelled them for a further 60 days. So, and that kind of took out my cruise. Up until 3 days ago, I was still hopeful I was getting on a cruise. Although in hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have been, because everything that's happened. I don't know if you guys have had this in the States, but we've had a lot of issues with cruises coming into Australia. The very first ship that came in, which had about 3,000 people on, they actually disembarked and infected New South Wales. They infected you guys, didn't they? That's right. And so what's happened since that, they've stopped people getting off the cruise ships, which has caused a lot of problems. And I don't know if they've even resolved it yet, but the cruise ships were asking if they could just disembark people, go to the airport and then fly them all home. but the Australian government said no to that because, you know, there'll always be one person that will make a run for it, apparently, and then infect that area. It's always somebody called Doug, I've noticed. Have you noticed that? I have. There's always those Dougs out there, or occasionally a Rob. I don't know, actually. I know there's also another cruise ship off the West Australian border at the moment too. We don't have anyone from WA, but does anyone know what's going on with the cruise ships? What are they doing? Are they just out there off the harbours, just or they must be sending food out? What's that? So have you had that in the States where you've had this cruise ship debacles? I know there was one in Japan that had issues.
Well, I think there was one down in Florida.
Oh yeah, cruise ship heaven.
That came in, and they had quite a few people that were tested positive.
Well, it would go through a cruise ship like lightning, wouldn't it? You know, the air conditioning systems. So no one's heard what's going on. There's just ships sitting outside of Australian waters, just with thousands of people on, just all getting sicker and sicker. It's great, and eventually, you know,
ghost ship.
Yeah.
I thought I heard a friend of mine in the States. I got something saying that a cruise ship had gone into San Diego and someone got out there. But I can't confirm that. But I saw that a couple of days back, and I know that the majority of what's happening in the States is going to lock down California and New York.
Yeah, those Californians, you've got to watch them.
But there's good reasons for that, and they'll come out. We'll come to that later on. But that's yeah.
Yeah, so Barbara, you do realise that the rest of the world blames California for everything these days, don't you? So you are the prime demographic to be blamed because you're full of lefty bleeding hearts. What else are you called? Democrats, that's right.
Yeah. Well, and on that one, there was an article on the cruise ships in Florida that 4 were dead and people are dying, but the passengers were screened at the border, but they're just still there. They're in kind of like limbo land.
Yeah, same with us. We keep on getting more ships because, and I believe I just heard before I started this that one of the countries that the ship was supposed to go to, they've refused. Even it's their ship, and they're refusing to have them back. I mean, how can they do that? I mean, that's ridiculous. They're your people. No, actually, they're your tourists, I suppose.
I think you'll find the issue there, Sharon, is it's where the vessel is registered. Now, a lot of these cruise companies register their ships in the Panama and places like this,
or Malta,
where they pay a hell of a lot less to register their ships, and the requirements to register ships are far less stringent than what they are in other countries around the world. That's why the big cruise companies all register their ships in Panama and Malta and places like that.
Amanda, have you witnessed any disobedience, any revolt, any riots, hopefully a riot, since the COVID-19 disease started to spread across your New South Wales in this case? Have you noticed anything like that?
Well, here, I haven't really seen anything here except misunderstanding, people just trying to adjust. But I did notice there was an article in the news, and I thought this was hilarious. Many people wouldn't have. Bondi Beach. Doug, you were talking about your beaches were closed.
Yeah, the US ones.
We have Bondi Beach for our American friend. It's all year round. You will have tourists on Bondi Beach. It's the beach to go to. It's in my state. And it was chockers. Oh, that means it was full. I don't know. Am I getting that right?
They weren't social distancing, Doug. That's what she says.
Yeah. See, so it was chockers, which means, it was just bodies. Everyone was in the sun getting their vitamin D, having a swim between the flags, and doing what they normally do. And the police came and cleared them.
So, Rob, have you witnessed anything, like any disobedience or revolts or riots in Tassie? What have you guys been doing? What have you been up to?
Nothing. Look, to be honest, life
It's gone on.
fundamentally hasn't changed that much for me. Most people steer clear of me anyway, so nothing's really changed in that respect.
So
I'm pretty lucky there. But no, it's gotten a lot quieter on the roads. You notice the normal changes for most people, like there's no toilet paper on the shelves at the supermarket, and you're only allowed 2 tins now. I found this quite funny. I got 2 cartons of long life milk and some powdered milk. And when I went to the checkout at Woolworths, it came up, the big flashing lights like Mr. Plod comes along type of thing. I said, no, well, you can't have 3 of those. I said, well, I haven't got 3. I've only got 2. I've got 2 of the long life milks in a carton, and I've got 1 packet of powdered milk. I know that's 2 milk products. You can't have 2 of them, And I'm thinking, well, this is really, this is food rationing. Now, I mean, they're turning, the impact that it's having on our society that I don't like is it's having shopkeepers, staff at Woolworths, people who generally pack shelves or who serve on the checkouts doing customer work, they're having these people who are now becoming pseudo-police because they're checking to see your social security card before they let you into the shop. Now, this is not their role. Their role is to work. This is how it is in Australia at the moment. They check, like you say, you guys and the elderly, the social security people, elderly, get to go in between 7 and 8, and everyone else gets to go in after 8 o'clock. But this is what it's doing. It's changing our society, and these are the effects that a lot of people aren't understanding. Because Sharon, you probably realise from our association and stuff, I objectively look at things from kind of outside the goldfish bowl a lot of times, and disassociate myself from the association and try and look at it prospectively from a lot of different angles.
Doug and Barbara in the US, we've seen a bit on TV, but have you personally, either of you personally, experienced any disobedience or rioting or like a revolt? People. I know that there's been a run on guns. Have you noticed that? Do you know that? That made me laugh today. I'm thinking, but it was a run on Californians, all these people who are so lovely and so we love the earth and we love everything. You're all running to gun stores. What is up with that? You're all supposed to love everybody, not shoot them. I'd expect Doug's lot to do that, go out and buy another gun or, but I wouldn't expect you guys, and you're the number one, what did they say today? Californians run on the gun stores. And you're all surprised that you have to wait them up to get a gun apparently, because you thought that they would just hand it over the counter, and you're all upset about that. But weren't you protesting? Weren't you the ones that actually brought in these laws so that you can't just go and get a gun when you open a bank account and stuff like that? So I find that funny. So what do you think, Doug? You must have some input here. Hold on, Titwell.
I find this kind of funny. Basically because you would buy the gun for protection of your home.
Yeah.
Against home invasion. And who's going to invade a home when they know everybody's at home? So what do you need? It's silly that everybody went out and ran and bought guns and ammunition.
Yeah.
I guess they're waiting for the next revolution.
What is it, Barbara? You're in California. You're in the hub of gun city now. Tell us what. You obviously haven't gone and got one, but why are they doing it?
I don't have one, but I did go online and somehow I crossed it. Said, "Get your guns free here." What? And I did. It said a way that you could get your guns for free if they charge you for this and something. And I didn't pay attention to it. I wished I would have now.
No.
I just kind of washed it off, but it was get your guns free, But I did want to say there has been some disobedience, and it's mainly it's a funny place, but from churches where they're not able to gather. And there was a couple of articles on that about just above Sacramento, there was a pastor who told his parish to come and have church, and I don't know if he was arrested, but there was definitely he felt that his religious freedoms were being attacked, and they went for it. So.
And this was the social distancing. Like you can only have so many people in, and that was why he was okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he said his religious freedoms were being attacked, and he had the right to have people come, and so I don't know if he was arrested, but it was a kind of a big deal here in California. So
it was a mini revolution, yes, and like you can see both sides of the story. I mean, if he could hold something like that in a field, like a really big field, you know, and people kept their distance, that's what I don't understand. If you've got a stadium and everyone can be apart, then why can't you hold things like that if you're not going to infect each other? But yeah, that's what's doing my head in at the moment. Will, you wanted to come in?
Yeah. You know that President Trump declared gun shops an essential business, essential industry, so they couldn't shut them down.
Oh, cool.
Like supermarkets.
There you go. Barb, you got plenty of time, sweetie.
Yeah. And there was a local one where there was a standoff, and I don't know which state it was in, and where I think it was California actually, and where the owners of the gun shop refused to close, and I still think they're open now. Actually, I still think that they were able to stay open and let so many people in, you know, one or two at a time or something like that. I'm not sure on that, so don't quote me on that. But
I just can't. It's just doing my head in that all these that of every state in your country at the moment. Maybe it's just because you guys don't have guns and the rest of the country do, and so you're just catching up with the rest. Is that what it is? Because I just can't. I've never I just don't think of California as being anything but. I think of you more as hippies, I suppose. This is probably very big generalisation. I know. Sorry, I apologise. But I just think of you all as peace-loving, kind of, you know.
Yeah. You're talking to an old hippie, okay? I'm from, you know, I lived at Haight-Ashbury for a while. So, I mean, yeah, I'm an old hippie, and I do believe in peace, love, and all of that. But I also am an American, and I do have a right to bear arms.
Yeah, you do too.
I agree with that. But would I use it? I never thought that I would. And for a long time, because I'm a minister, right, as well. But if they were to attack me, you know, but a gun's not going to stop the virus. So I don't understand that, right?
Well, I suppose it's more I think it's more the fact that a lot of people think that the government is going down and that you'll be forced back into more of a Western style existence where you have to protect your food. You know, that's kind of where I thought it was going. Doug, what did you think? Is that kind of where you're thinking everyone was running out and get their guns to protect themselves from the ferals that are coming, you know?
Well, I think so. I think everybody went out and lost their minds.
Yes.
Yeah, I own several guns, but most of it's.
But you've had them for years, haven't you? You've had them for years, and they're sporting related. Yeah. Except for.
Sharon, isn't there another agenda here too?
I'm sorry.
Isn't there another agenda going on beneath the surface here that America's coming towards a very important election in November, and if Trump gets voted back in again, there could be a riot, and he wants everyone armed to the teeth.
So they can shoot each other.
Really? I hope not. I haven't heard that one. Hey, Rob, have you heard that one?
There's a couple of things I'll say. When you outlaw guns, only outlaws will have guns.
Yeah.
Right? And in respect to what Will was saying before, the reason that Admiral Yamamoto never got the Japanese forces to make a land landing in the United States during the Second World War is, he says, because you've only got to look at your Second Amendment. They have the right to bear arms. Is your Second or Fourth Amendment? What is it?
Second.
Your Second Amendment. It's your Second Amendment. He said the Second Amendment. He said what that Second Amendment does for America, it basically turns every citizen into a soldier. Right? You got a right to bear arms. And this is what we forget in our country. We've taken away the ability of the citizens of the country to help to defend the country.
Yes.
That's the issue. That's the issue and the reality you have. Notwithstanding that, as far as it goes here in Tasmania, I don't have any guns per se except my old air rifle or slug gun or BB gun, as you'd call them, though. But I do have a very nice 60-foot-pound compound bow and a 50-foot-pound recurve bow, and about 75 nice shafts, many of which are different carbon fibre and aluminium with hunting tips, and are very, very quiet, and they're very good because at the end of the day, people say, why, well, a gun's better. And I say, well, when you've got a gun and you run out of ammunition, all you've got's a stick. When you've got a bow and arrow, you can go and pull your shafts out of your enemies and reuse them.
Yep, good point. Good point.
Logistically, it's quite simple, and you never, like the Summarise made a big thing about running in a battle and shouting, but you just let everyone know where you are and where you're coming. When you go into battle, you don't give your enemy, you don't give them your battle plans, and you don't run into battle shouting and yelling. You sit there and wait, and they'll come to you.
Completely agree.
It's a sad world we're in at the moment, but we've lost in Australia. We've lost that ability as a country for the citizens of the country to defend it. Now, gun ownership is a very, very runs to the heart for a lot of people, especially American people, being that Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. Well, that's okay, the right to bear arms, but it doesn't say what arms, It doesn't specify what arms. It might say, well, a stick constitutes an arm. In real terms, in a court of law, an arm is anything you use to defend yourself. In real terms, Angela, you'd say that, wouldn't you, Angela?
Amanda.
He's catching. I've infected them. I'm so sorry, Amanda. I really am.
And here we don't have guns, and even when I was a police officer, people were still handing them in from the amnesty from, sadly, the Port Arthur massacre, and after that there was an amnesty, and that was back in 2004. There are two personality types emerging.
Yes, yeah. I've noticed that too, especially online. Today I've gone through and I've got rid of a lot of stuff on Facebook because I'm just getting out of that whole area. It's just not good. I prefer YouTube these days. That's really where I see any mainstream TV, and it's normally being shown to me as a bad example of or something, so yeah, that's easy. Well, that's all for our podcast. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a positive review over on iTunes for The Open-Minded Skeptic. My team and I look forward to entertaining you once again in our next podcast. To check when our next podcast is, simply head over to www.tomspod.com. That's www.tomspod.com.